my name is Phoebe Riley and I'm currently in year 1 of the level 3 performance and production course here at BTA. The project we're currently working on is called Scratch, which is a performance-based project that focuses on devising and creating our own work, quite literally, from scratch. In this project, we focus on collaborating ideas in small groups that we then turn into a 10-minute performance piece. When other groups have done this in the past, they've normally had a stimulus, but this year the practitioners thought they'd really test us, and we're really interested to see what we could create from some exercises that we did in class. When they initially kind of said this, it did make us a little bit nervous, as to think of a whole plot and storyline quite literally out of nothing is quite a hard thing to do. But luckily, as a group, we've managed to kind of bounce off each other's ideas quite easily and have all come up with a rough plot that we're really interested in. One of our starting exercises was to get into small groups that weren't necessarily our scratch groups and pick a word from a list that we had created together in class, and then create a mini scene based off that word, but we were only allowed to have one person moving and speaking at a time. So once we'd picked our group, we then decided on the word unknown, as we felt there were a lot of possibilities for it, and lots of different routes we could kind of go down. So we spent some time thinking about how would be a really good way to kind of show the word unknown, and settled on a base idea of these 4 friends that had gone to a little cabin on holiday together. And we're all really excited for it, but then once they'd actually got there, they'd kind of realised that they all wanted to do different things at different times, and it caused them having a bit of an argument. So once we kind of got that idea, we decided that we weren't going to exactly tell the audience that that was what they were arguing about, but we'd just subtly hint it so that they would have to try and work it out themselves. When we got to physically putting it on its feet, had 3 people in a freeze frame in a frozen argument kind of position, and then one person stepping out and having a full rant about their side of the story and why they think that their order of the day was the best, and then stepping back in, and then so on with the other 3 characters, and then we had them all together one by one kind of moving at the end and creating a bit of a bigger argument all together. We really liked the idea because we actually felt it was a really effective way to show the chaos of an argument, but in a more broken down sense that wasn't quite as jumbly loud and was actually a bit clearer of everybody's viewpoints. So I think we were definitely all quite inspired by it to then maybe use when we did get into our scratch groups. So once we got into our scratch groups, some of us initially had some ideas of what route we wanted to go down, and we all ended up agreeing that we were really interested in a murder mystery, and we're quite interested in the unknown factor of that. So we started to kind of just brainstorm some ideas of different death possibilities and settings and characters. And we quite quickly decided on a girls' sleepover gone wrong, as we felt there was a really nice contrast in these girls being super giggly and cheesy together and having a pillow fight or something, but then suddenly the lights being a blackout and having a murder and having one of the characters dead on the floor. And then from this murder, you kind of start to reveal more and more secrets about these characters and their relationships with each other. And we just kind of felt that from this idea, there was a lot of different possibilities with it and ways that we could expand it. But our only worry was that we'd make it quite complicated, which we didn't really want to do, as doing a murder mystery is quite hard. But we felt that if we had quite set characters and a set storyline, then we should be able to pull it off. And when we were kind of discussing the idea, we all decided we were quite interested in an interrogation and maybe trying to incorporate that in our scene, as we felt they were quite a good way to show a character's viewpoint without it being too complicated or having other characters in the mix. So yeah, once we'd kind of got our rough idea, we just kept building each other's ideas off of it, and settled on that, and are quite happy with it, and we've kind of thinking we're going to stick with it for the rest of it, as I feel like there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of do a murder mystery, and it'll be like really fun characters to explore and a really interesting storyline to explore. Lastly, the things that I'm excited for during this project are definitely, one of them is working with new people, as I do find I tend to sometimes stick with the people that I'm like closest with, as you kind of just get comfortable around them and have similar ideas. But I think it will be really nice to expand working with different people, and I think in a project like Scratch, that really is just creating a piece from your very ideas and seeing what you come up with. Like, working with different people will be really interesting and helpful for it, as I think there'll just be so many different ideas that can be brought in from people's different personalities and how they like to work, that it should mean that we can make a really good, effective, interesting piece. I'm also really excited just to see what I can bring to the group and what kind of work I can produce, as I've done quite a bit of devising, but not necessarily like a whole play. So I'm really intrigued to see what I can add to the group and what ideas we kind of go down and follow and how they kind of play out. So I think it'll be a really interesting process to see that. And I'm also really interested to see what the other groups do, as like hearing some of their initial ideas, they sound really interesting too. And I think it will just be really lovely to watch and perform a piece that you know that you've created by yourself and had such a huge say in. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for the project. It's a little bit nerve-wracking working with new people, and it's quite a tight time limit. So I'm hoping we can, do a lot and perform a good play for everyone. But I think just the process of it will be really interesting and really useful for me and everyone else. But yeah, I just hope it all goes well. So I'll update you all next week with what we've got further.